Are any of these whiskeys on the bar top worth it? Let's find out. What is going on, everybody? Nathan here with the Everyday Drinker, bringing you guys a brand new video. As you can see on the bar top, we have 4 whiskeys, 3 bourbons, 1 rye on the bar top, and we are going to do 4 reviews for you guys. 3 of these bottles have been out for quite a while now, and I didn't think that it was right to do a single review and upload, a single review and upload, and a single review and upload. So I figured, why not put all 3 of these bottles, the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged, Penelope Rio Batch number 2, and the Old Overheal 10-year cask strength rye whiskey. These 3 have been out for months, and finally, we got our hands on the bottle of bourbon that I helped pick the barrel of, which was the Wilderness Trail. We released this to the Patreons and the Central Jersey Bourbon Society, and everybody has absolutely loved it, so I figured, why not do a review of that bottle right there for you guys, and maybe we can give away a little sample of this bottle to a lucky Patreon. So make sure you go check out the Patreon down below for any of those guys that haven't gotten it, the new guys, and so on and so forth. So make sure you guys drop the like, leave a comment down below on if you think any of these whiskeys are worth it. Leave a subscribe if you really enjoy the content, and check out the Patreon. Link is down below, and you might be able to get a chance to win a sample from the barrel of bourbon that I helped pick. So without further ado, let's crack open the one that you guys are most likely anticipating a review of, and that is the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged. So let's get this bad boy open. Good friends come through. Doc over at Old Fashioned Ways was able to snag me this bottle, and it's one of those bottles, the bottles that I really wanted for 2024. So here we are, and fresh crack. Let's get that pop. Let's see. Not too bad of a pop. And I love that the Maker's Cellar Aged is an actual cork and not synthetic. So let's get our handy dandy glass over here, and let's get a little pour. Oh, that sounded so nice. That sounded so nice. I'm gonna let this breathe, and I'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Let me know down in the comments below if you've had the pleasure of trying the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged. So if you don't know what the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged is, this is one of the oldest Maker's Mark offerings on the market, right? So this is a blend of, where is it at? 13% 11-year whiskey and 87% 12-year whiskey, coming in at 115.7 proof. So this is a very proofy Maker's Mark. This is a very old Maker's Mark, and it is a very, very beautiful Maker's Mark bottle. Absolutely love the design of this bottle, the look of it, the story behind the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged is really, really interesting to me. The fact that they went about doing something like this to see what older Maker's Mark whiskey could do in the barrel and come out, and if it would be anything worthwhile for the consumer like you and I to possibly purchase. And here we are, 12 years later, with this bottle of bourbon from fruition, and we're gonna get into the nose, and let's dive right in. I love Maker's Mark barrel proof bourbon so freaking much. It's one of my absolute favorite weeded bourbons out there, and I'm getting so much maple candy off of this. It's like you had like a maple hard candy. It's sweet. It's got that nice maple note in there. Cinnamon spice, like a dark cinnamon, not super dry, not super sweet, just a very rich, bold cinnamon comes through on it. I got a little bit of like an orange zest as well. There's some citrus notes on this. A beautiful caramel. This has so much going on for it. This is one of the most complex noses, and now that we have this bottle as well, we are going to be doing like blinds with Maker's Mark products and stuff like that. See where this cask strength, super old Maker's Mark product comes out against other, like, just your regular like store picks, and the BEPs and the BRTs and the Heart whatever one comes out this year. Super excited for that one too. But nonetheless, I love the nose of this, and I can't wait to get into it. I've been lucky enough to try it a couple of times, and now that we got our own bottle, I can do a review for you guys. Let's get into the glass. Just super, super well-rounded, sweet, a little bit of oak, a little bit of burn going down, but thick and viscous and oily and coats everything. Super, super long finish with that sweet maple that comes through. The initial sip, I get that orange zest comes through, and then it rounds out with just this like really, really nice sweetness that gives you this little bit of like a caramel. There's a little bit of a vanilla punch in there, but that goes very, very quickly and just turns into that maple blast that is just so, so wonderful out of this bottle. Wow, it's an experience. It evolves in the glass, and then it evolves in your mouth and just transforms so nicely. Oh man, it's got this little bit of earthiness. It's got this little bit of sweet oak. It's got a mustiness to it, but the mustiness is like just overcome with that sweetness that just prevails through and just punches you in the face with that mapleness. And it is absolutely wonderful, and it is a top-notch bottle, and I'm so glad I was able to get my hands on the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged 2023. Hopefully 2024 gets released, and maybe we can do a comparison to 2023 and 2024. But let's move on to the Penelope Rio Batch number 2. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, Penelope Rio Batch number 2. If you don't know anything about the Penelope Rio, you know that the Penelope Rio Batch number 1 was one of my absolute favorite bottles of bourbon from 2023. And this is a double cask finished bourbon. It is first done with an Amberana Brazilian oak barrel and then finished again in a honey barrel. So it's a double cask finished, and then they proof it down to 98 proof, and you get this really, really nice, beautiful amber colored bourbon that is just absolutely out of this world. Now, I have heard many people state that batch 2 was completely different than batch 1. Now, it does have those same flavor profiles, but it is not overwhelmingly sweet. A lot of people weren't a big fan of batch 1. I was a huge fan of it, but they weren't a fan of it due to the fact that it was just like overwhelmingly Amberana cinnamon, snickerdoodle, honey, blast to the face. I loved it. They didn't. And people that didn't love batch 1 seemed to really enjoy batch number 2. So here we are. Let's see if it's any different. I have literally an ounce and a half left of my batch 1. And maybe one day we'll see what the comparison of 1 and 2 are. Batch 3 is hitting the shelves now. The 2024 901. And I have absolutely no idea what that one's going to be like. But let's get into batch number 2. So batch number 2 here off of the nose does remind me very, very much of what batch number 1 had to offer. Honey, cinnamon, snickerdoodle cookie, just like a sugar cookie with just a dusting of brown sugar with a little bit of cinnamon on top. It really is just as much as I remember batch 1 being a honey bun snickerdoodle sandwich where you took 2 honey buns and stuffed the snickerdoodle cookie in between. That's what you got. But it is not as potent on the nose as batch number 1 was. I'm getting a little bit more of that bourbon note off of there. And it's very, very nicely rounded out. But it is very reminiscent of what batch number 1 was. But let's get into the palate and see if it compares anything to what batch number 1 was, and if I love it just as much, or is it a dud? I highly doubt it's going to be a dud, but let's find out. So it is, on the palate, much different than batch 1. You're getting a lot more bourbon notes off of this. I'm getting vanillas. I'm getting a little bit of an oaky presence off of this. It's not a super hit you in the face with just abundance of cinnamon and honey and like cinnamon spice. It's very, very soft compared to what batch 1 was. And comparatively, how much I loved batch 1, this does not compare in all honesty to it. You know, I loved what batch 1 had to offer with the viscosity and the oiliness that it had from the influence from the barrels. And I think that with this, it doesn't compare to it. It's good, but it is not as good. And it's almost, I'm not going to say it's a disappointment to what batch 1 was and what that offered. But I think that a lot of people loved batch 1 for what it was, and they got batch 2 and they were disappointed just as much as I am. You know, I might say it's a disappointment because of how controversial batch 1 was, I think that this one just doesn't compare. And for me, it's kind of a disappointment. I hope batch number 3, when that gets released, hopefully I can get a bottle of that and we can see if it's maybe a happy middle ground between the two batches, because this one just doesn't hit where I expected it to. Batch 1 was there, and maybe batch 3 we can get to, like I said, a happy middle ground. But that's enough of my jibber jabber of the Rio. Let's get into one of the ryes that I was really stoked for 2023 and going into 2024. I think this hit the shelves in January and we were able to acquire it back in February. This is the Old Overhal 10-year cask strength rye whiskey. Now we did some damage to this bottle already. I was looking for the best time to do a review of this, and when's the best time? Right now. So here we go. Get a little pour of this. This is coming in at 121 proof. So super close in proof to the Thomas H. Handy. I think it's on, yeah, that side. And almost double the age of the Handy. And you guys know how much I love that Handy. But nonetheless, this is a Jim Beam product. This was barreled in winter and autumn of 2012 and then bottled in the autumn of 2023. So it's almost 11 years old. And man, it has got a beautiful nose. Before we get into the next two, if you haven't already, drop that like, leave a comment down below on if you've had the Old Overhal 10-year. If you like any of the Old Overhal products, I love the 114. The bonded is delicious, and this was one of those bottles I was really excited for. This is coming in also at just under $100, and really stoked for it. But nonetheless, super rye spice forward. Citrusy notes, clove coming through and star anise more than like a cinnamon. And I'm getting rye bread. Rye bread falls out of this glass like you wouldn't believe. Almost like there's a little bit of like a pumpernickel bread too. Like very earthy, dark and round. I'm getting some apricots off of the nose as well. Really nice, well-balanced experience through this nose. You can find so many different little things coming through on this, and I think that expression with that 10-year age statement gives you the ability to find different things coming out of this, whereas your traditional like for the younger rye, proof down doesn't give you that experience. And I think barrel proof older rye whiskeys sometimes might tend to be a little bit more of a fun experience on the nose than a bourbon. But nonetheless, let's get into the palate. Cheers to you guys. That is so wonderful. So wonderful. I mean, if I had $100 and I had these two bottles in front of me, the Penelope Rio and the Old Overhal Cask Strength, I'm going Old Overhal Cask Strength Rye, 10-year-old, all day, every day, only because it's an enjoyable experience. It's got that spiciness from the rye, but it is very soft around the edges. There's no bitterness, there's no dissatisfaction around whatever this has to offer on the palate. You're getting that spiciness, like I said, from the rye, but it is got a very nice sweet oak. You're getting a nice char effect coming off of this as well. There's a little bit of a peanut brittle, peanut shells, peanut dusting. Being a bean product, you're gonna get that, and it shows on this. But it is very well balanced with that rye spice that comes through on this, and it's so nice. And I absolutely dig that rye whiskey right there, like you wouldn't believe. But we've got one more bottle that we have to do a review on. And like I said, if you guys want a sample of this, for anybody on the Patreon that didn't get a bottle of this and you're brand new, make sure you go check out the Patreon for a chance to win a sample of this. But we're going to be doing a giveaway. This is the Wilderness Trail Wheated Bourbon, coming in at 4 years, 10 months old. It's got a char number 4, and it's coming in at 111.3 proof. And I was so stoked to be able to join in on this pick. And that cork's a little stuck there, but here we go. So this was one of 3 samples that were sent to us to do the pick on, and we settled, I believe it was letter C, because letter A, when we did it, we weren't, all four of us weren't fans of A. It just wasn't our cup of tea. B and C, I think that I'm going to stick with this, was letter C. B we initially liked a little bit more off of the first sip than C. But going back and forth from B and C throughout the entire night, we ended up going with C because C evolved into something that was a little bit more enjoyable over time, whereas B just fell flat a little bit comparative to what C just blew up in the glass. And we all really, really enjoyed what C had to offer. So let's get into the nose, and I'm going to give you guys a little rundown on what my palate has to do. This has a really, really nice dark cherry note in there. There's some star anise, a little bit of hay. It's super, super rich on the nose. It smells like you're sitting by a campfire almost with that dark, rich, almost like heavy smoke. But it's not like a peated smoke. It's really nice. It's really sweet and pungent. A little bit of honey note coming off of it as well. And some really, really nice cinnamon notes. It's so, so nice. I love it so much on the nose, but it's all about drinking the whiskey and enjoying it like that. So let's get into the palate, and cheers to you all. That is just so well balanced. You're getting so many flavor profiles off of this for a 4-year-old whiskey that not a lot of things compare to this, in my opinion. And that's just not because I picked it. I want whoever wins that sample to experience everything that I find in this. And you're getting so much sweetness off of this. You're getting a little bit of spice off of this. It's weird because it does have a little bit of a cinnamon kick, like a rye bourbon would have. Brown sugar through and through. Little touch of caramel, little tiny butterscotch. But the big thing that comes off of this is it's like a vanilla bean almost, that you just like, you lick the vanilla bean with a little bit of brown sugar on there to get rid of that bitterness, and just overwhelmingly sweet. And those legs on that glass stay on there forever. This is one of those bottles that I was super, super stoked for, and I hope whoever wins that sample is stoked to get it. Love it so, so much. It's got a lot going on for it. It really does. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave that like. Leave a comment, like I said, on if you've tried any of these or if you passed on them and stuff like that. And check out that Patreon. Link is down below for your chance to win a sample of the Wilderness Trail bottle that I was able to be a part of. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, this has been Nathan with The Everyday Drinker. Cheers.